What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Console Creatures. My name is Matt, and on this very special edition, I'm joined by the composer extraordinaire. You might have heard his work in Tactical Breach Wizards. I'm joined by Mr. Robert Arzola. Thank you so much for joining me, Robert.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
I'm really excited to talk to you about Tactical Breach Wizards. I've been playing a lot of it. I'm in love with the game. The soundtrack is massive. It's epic. It fits perfectly. So before we get into the nitty gritty of the game, I would love to learn a little bit more about yourself, a little bit more about how your journey into composing started. How did you come to be working in video games? How did all that kind of start and get to where you are now?
Now that is a very loaded question. I'm a French horn player. I
Okay.
started. I was originally a trumpet player. Switched to French horn in high school, whatnot. Went to college for it, and then after a while, I was thinking, what do I want to do with my life?
Fair point.
And in grad school, I was figuring it out. Then after that, I went to school in Dublin, Ireland,
Okay.
in a school called Pulse College, and studied film and game scoring there. And that was probably like 7 years ago, or no, maybe 8 or 9 years ago. Wow, time flies. And I ended up just going off of that and just getting to LA and giving it a shot. And luckily, it worked out.
I'm glad
And
it worked out because it seems like you've done a number of like trailer and music work. Trailer and movie work. How does that world differ from video games?
the deadlines definitely differ.
Okay.
When working on trailers, sometimes you can have a deadline of a few hours to get
Oh,
something
nice.
done, whether it's some sound effects or some drums type thing or some little instrumentals, or sometimes you have overnight, sometimes you have a week. It depends on trailers could be very tight. Films can be tight too. I've done a number of features that have a deadline sometimes of 3 weeks, which is insane. But working in the trailer world helped me get into the deadlines of the film world and helped me really work into trailers, which leads, I guess, segues into part of your other question about how I got into video games.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't have much luck in the video game industry.
Okay.
Um, and I wasn't thinking about really trying to go further into it, but during COVID, Tom Francis put up uh, something in his site saying that he was looking for a composer for this game. And I didn't know because I only found out through Facebook. Someone put it up on one of the composer groups. I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to try it. Why not? I'm not going to get it. I know I'm not, but I should try anyway. And I sent over some music that was originally made for a custom brief for a different film that didn't work out, but was gonna be released in a trailer album where I work. And next thing you know, it all worked out.
Does the approach differ at all when you're looking at something like a movie versus a game? Like I can't imagine, is the process any different? Do you have access to the full movie versus the game? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, how does that
Yeah.
piecemeal kind of come together? Does the approach differ?
Usually when I work on a film, I have it's almost all done, if not all done.
Okay.
There'll be little changes done, maybe some lengths of a scene will change and whatnot, but most of the time I get the full cut of a film and I watch it a few times. With the game, like, I was there when a a fair bit was done, but it was still being worked on and whatnot, so for that, that was a different type of, workflow for me, but the approach was kinda the same musically. I was just trying to think of the themes and whatnot and try to make things work and try to figure out a good flow for it.
That's really interesting because I one of the things that I love about Tactical Breach Wizards, and for anybody who's unaware, Tactical Breach Wizards is a strategy game where you basically control like a CIA squad like of wizards who are on this global mission to stop something happening before the world runs amok. Very much kind of like your fantasy Mission Impossible kind of in that realm, and that's really what the soundtrack reminded me of because like the massive drums, the synths that are going on, like I felt like even though it's a tactical game where the action happens, turn by turn, I was
Mhm.
constantly like pushed forward by the music to be like, okay, this like I could feel the pressure of the moves I was making. How did you land on the sound for the game?
Um, I kinda just went off of the tracks that I sent off to Tom, and I thought he likes that, I think, and then I started working with that, and then it worked. Uh, and then as you go through the game, you'll notice that some of the styles change too,
Mhm.
because we're going to different countries, different regions, different places. And also, I'll admit, like, my palette and everything also changed over time because I was on the project for 3.5 years. And
Okay.
in those 3.5 years, a lot has changed on my end. And so it led to better resources and whatnot too, which helped grow the palette and everything and help grow the sound for tactical research. Like it's all the same type of feel, I think,
Mhm.
but I was able over time at least to have it grow. And especially with the orchestral side coming in more as well with the drums and the synths and whatnot.
And I love that you brought up like the sound the sonic differences across the different regions, and even it's as simple as the track when you're fighting in a building versus when you're on a runaway train. Like
Yeah.
it differs drastically. Did you have any sources of inspiration that you were pulling from, even like for different regions of the world or different actual environments?
There were some inspirations, especially with chapel.
Hmm.
Sorry. With the choir type elements and the last entry middle. Like that one was really interesting because I thought, like, what gets the historic vibe from it somehow? And I somehow thought bells, and I somehow stumbled on a good thing of synth bells that I got from a friend of mine at Rocky Mountain Sound, and I thought this is perfect. Send it off, and it worked out. But yeah, like it's with the train one that you mentioned. Actually, I was actually thinking. I I I wrote a set of cello A2 type pieces for a friend of mine, and one of them deals with the train. I thought I'd just go off of that and see how that works, but yet make it more tactical breach wizards instead of less Japanese style train type feel. That was what it was originally written for the cello stuff.
It sounds fantastic. I like every single piece of music along the way just seems to perfectly fit the environment that it's in while also creating this tension and this pressure. Given that like it's not a straight action game, you know what I mean? You're dealing with mystical elements, you're dealing with the
Yeah.
supernatural. Did that change the kind of sonic area that you were looking at, given that you were almost trying to, infuse a bit more of a fantasy element to it? Or was it the focus more on the, straight up action side? Because like I mentioned, John Wick and Mission Impossible are not a far reach from what like the sonic range I found here.
Yeah.
And does the fantasy element change what you're kind of playing with?
I tried playing around a little bit with the fantasy, but it wasn't working out. It wasn't like it didn't fit.
Hmm.
And I tried a little bit of it with the perks. When
Hmm.
you're choosing what perks you want, um, I tried to do something a little more whimsical the first time around, and it wasn't fitting. So I tried something else, and it ended up with what we have there,
Hmm.
which to me is like an influence from the Lauren Balfe Modern Warfare 2 scores and whatnot. Like to me, those are like my favorites. Um, and that's my favorite track in the game so far, I think. But no one, everyone seems to. I have a question for you, actually.
For sure. Yeah.
What is your favorite track in the game? And I think I know what it could be.
That's a really hard question. I have a problem with recency bias. So with like one
Mhm.
of the train levels in the last act is one of the ones that I most recently played. And that
Okay.
one really kind of hits home for me, but it's also just the transitional, like massive drums that hit between like as you're kind of getting like the checklist of the things that you've done in the level and things are hitting. Like it that like those really jumped out at me a lot along with that train level. Um
Mhm.
there was just so much going on in the game across all the different levels that I feel like the ones that are most recent for me are the ones that always stand out in my mind. And then I
Yeah.
usually, once I finish the game, I'll go back and kind of take a re-listen through all the way through. But I think the train one is the one that really jumped out at me just because it
Okay.
was subdued, yet it fit the kind of rampant running nature of the level.
Mhm.
I thought it worked really well.
Okay. See, it's funny. I think Tom talks about this in his videos about how there were different about the scores and stuff from the betas and the tests and whatnot. And I'm expecting I was gonna guess you were gonna say the Necrometic, which is Banks's jazzy theme in the bar, and I noticed that was the highest rated score.
Also absolutely fantastic. It just
That one got everyone's attention, and that one shocks me still.
is there one that you kind of had when you were making it being like, "This is the one that I think is going to be the hit for this one to be then a surprise?"
I thought the Perks one was my favorite just because of how I don't know, to me, it just sounded so fitting,
Mhm.
but, um, the last fight, the final boss battle fight there, that one is also a good one, I think. Liv Kennedy, getting her, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Um, but Banks' theme, the Necromantic, that has it's slowly grown on to me to be one of my favorites too.
the they're all just fantastic characters. All the themes kind of really kind of hit home. Jen is a personal favorite.
Yes.
She's just fantastic in everything that she does. So again, I think find that her music fits her perfectly. With Tactical Breach Wizards kind of being, and again, if you can't tell me, that's fine. Kind of being like the first major game that you're working on. Is there hope for more? Is there more you want to do in the space?
Um, I'm always open to more.
Okay,
Um, I'm not at liberty to say anything.
for sure.
I don't know I whether I know or not, that's not up to me.
Hmm.
So, but if more does come, I'd be happy to do more.
Hmm.
Um, I I l I like the game. I really like the concept. The concept surprised me a lot.
It's funny because the concept is something that, like, it's one of those things that it's like, how hasn't this been done before? Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
such a great idea that when it comes together and, I'm a big strategy fan, so coming into it, the writing was another aspect that really, like, jumped out at me. It was, like, the music and then the writing that kind of washed over me in its opening hours that I was like, "Okay, wow, this isn't just another strategy game, there's a lot of depth to this here." So it's just one of those things that it's like, how did this not happen before? It's just so expertly put together all the way through. Is there a track of yours that is a favorite outside of the let's go with the Necromancer theme? Is there one that like you really really love and that are
The
proud of?
the Perks theme is one I like.
Mhm,
It's very simple though. I think the simpler tracks are my favorites are my favorite, and, Belly of the Beast is also a good one that I like.
mhm,
And I noticed that the team liked that one too. Um, so those 2, and the main theme. The main theme is good. I like the main theme.
the main
It is very it's weird going on YouTube and seeing people play through this game
mhm,
and hearing the main theme just playing in the background as people talk. I think what's his name? Northern Lion? I think that's the name of one of the YouTube streamers.
okay.
He always talks at the beginning of the video, and I'm just hearing the theme playing in the background on loop, and I'm thinking, "How is he not tired of this? Is it I know it's good, but is it that good?"
It's believe me, as someone that has to capture a lot of footage and kind of work with it, it's there are some themes that kind of you kind of get like, okay, I'm ready to move on to the next song. I haven't had that issue with Tactical Breach Wizards in even a second.
I'm glad. I am glad.
Are there any dream projects or any dream IPs that you would like really love to work on? 'Cause I know you certainly singled out Modern Warfare 2 as one of your favorites. Are there any IPs or projects that you'd be like, I'm in 100%, no questions asked, let's do it?
Um, I have a list. Uh, like the Spider-Man games nowadays.
Yes. Yeah,
Those
Insomniacs.
those are don't get Pisano, who writes the music for that, that's a tough act to follow.
Mhm,
I love the music for the whole range, well, for that whole series, the 3
mhm,
games. Um, the Call of Duty games,
mhm,
are also a good one. Honestly, I like just writing for things. I'm
mhm.
not impartial. I'm not, like, gonna pick one over the other, like, if Final Fantasy, of course, everyone wants that. Everyone wants one of those.
That'd be nice. I mean, it's again 3 incredible franchises with a ton of fantastic music, and I
Yes.
look forward to the day where I get to see the Robert Arzola soundtrack for one of the three in a future
I mean,
series.
that would be great. I wouldn't mind.
Well, Robert, that's kind of actually covers a lot of the questions that I had. Is there anything that you would like to leave the viewers and the readers with when they're kind of approaching Tactical Breach Wizards? Is there something that you would want them to know that maybe we haven't covered?
Um, I guess the first thing is I hope you like it. For me, this is new. I'm not used to being on something where my name is out there
Hmm.
and people are playing it like crazy. I'm used to people seeing a trailer where I've done all this work for and they don't know who the heck I am. That's what I'm used to. But
Hmm.
um I guess as you're playing the game and listening to the music, in a way as you hear it all and play through it, there's also it you're following the main characters in a journey through all this, but the music is also kind of a journey because it's a journey over 3.5 years
Very true.
of trying to improve and all that too. So you're kind of hearing that evolve as well with the characters evolving in the story. So it, to me, it's kind of an interesting thing there because like a lot of times when you hear like the AAA game scores, like what you get is like really good, like they're at this level all the time.
Hmm.
And for me, it was more like this gradual development through all of that time, if that makes sense.
It totally does. And the thing that kind of, what I would love to just you to know is that I have a lot of love for the soundtrack and a lot of love for this game. In a year that's really filled with incredible titles across the board, especially on the indie side, for
Yeah.
Tactical Breach Switches to stand like, shoulder to shoulder with a lot of them is really, really impressive. And everybody that I know that I've spoken to that's played this game has loved every second of it. Even though it was a 3.5 year journey, I don't think that there's a single track that doesn't stand, next to the ones around it. So kudos to you. Thank you for putting together an incredible soundtrack. Thank you for working on this game because for people like myself, it's a genuine bright spot in my day when I get to sit down and engage with the content. And again, it's something that lives with us and stays with us even through our journeys with the game. So thank you for the work that you do because it is important.
Thank you for those words. It means a lot. It really does.
Robert, if people wanted to see and hear more from you, if they could follow you anywhere, if there's anything that you want to plug, feel free.
All I have really is my site so far,
Mhm.
which is just my first and last name.com. I try I have I don't really plug myself too much on social media, though
Mhm.
I'm working on Instagram. I'm trying to because I noticed here in the Atlanta area, all the people ask for is the Instagram. So that's a different one for me. And that is what is it? I think it's at Rob Zola Music. Let me just double check
Yeah, no, go
real
for it.
quick.
The links will
See,
also
this
just
is
be in the description just to make it real easy for folks to go follow
yeah,
along.
yeah, Rob Zola Music. That's what it is. Yep. See, this
Perfect.
is how bad I am with plugging myself on social media and all that.
It's funny because it's like it's one of those things that it's just as you start to do it more and more, it almost becomes like second nature. But the first bunch of times you're doing it, you're like, yeah, okay, this is I guess where you could find me if you really want to. But any other projects that you just want to highlight from kind of your background outside of Tactical Breach, which is that you would love people to go and check out.
I've the only other projects I've really done recently are like a Christmas movie called Christmas by Candlelight and other things that I've gone on through different streaming services in different parts of the world. But other than that, a lot of my stuff right now is trailer wise,
Okay.
which most of the things I'm not allowed to say. But I'm also a music supervisor, so that takes up a lot of time now too on the trailer side.
I'm sure you're incredibly busy, but well, Robert, again, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Again, Tactical Breach Wizards is a fantastic experience. Everybody, go check it out. It is out now. There's a deluxe edition that includes the download of the soundtrack, which again, very very well worth it. Great to have alongside you for your whatever journeys you might be on, folks. Thank you so much, Robert. Once again, thanks for joining me. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
We will see you all on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.